Hi friends! So I want to do a bit of a checkup video on how my 2026 has been going ever since I decided to fully go freelance. And as another way of going freelance, I'm also going to say doing art full time because I know that's typically what people call it on YouTube especially, so just so everyone knows. But this time around I wanted to kind of do a little bit of an introduction to myself in case this is the first time I'm seeing anyone here. So hi, my name is Hal. I'm a 2D 3D artist in Canada, and I mostly draw my original characters and I do fan art on my favorite things. I realize that I haven't really been introducing myself in my videos, though in a lot of my other work, I do think it's worthwhile to just dive straight into what I want to talk about. But again, since this video is all about my experience going full-time as an artist, I think it's pretty important that people kind of have an idea of who I am and what I do. So right now, and for the past 4 months, I've been working as a freelance artist with multiple income streams. So I sell original and fan merch via my online shop and in person at events around the GTA. I also have this YouTube channel, and I try to upload monthly, and I also take commissions on my VGen. So until recently, my dream career and everything that I had worked for was to be a 3D character artist working in animation or games. It's a very small but very competitive industry even before what I'm about to get into. I have a portfolio and a demo reel that I recreated entirely from scratch after I graduated, and I've since used that to network, get feedback on, and apply to jobs, etc. But after I graduated in late 2022, we kind of started it was right at the precipice of a still ongoing layoff crisis within both games and animation. I unfortunately graduated right when that started happening, and you've seen people talk about probably the 2023, 2024 layoffs and whatnot. This has been kind of a worldwide phenomenon. It's not just constrained to Canada or North America at all. It's hitting everywhere. I worked a bit of retail and food service since I graduated, kind of the same way that I did during college and before college, but actually most of my time spent post-college has been working in manufacturing. So I'm kind of like a 3D manufacturing engineer. I'm at a small company, and the team that I'm on is responsible for 5 different roles in the process. Just because of the way that the company is structured, they have us do essentially everything. So that starts with a quote, 3D CAD design, CNC programming, and then the actual CNC machining, and also quality control and whatnot after the process. But due to the lack of education that I carry in that field, and also just things that are completely out of my control, I've been severely underpaid, and it's kind of a dead-end career for me. I don't get a pension. There's nowhere within the company to grow. There's essentially nothing for me in that field, or at that job rather, and I can't even go to other jobs. So even back before I was in college, I floated the idea of possibly going freelance at some point in my life, but every time I thought about it or it was an option, I was absolutely terrified, and I didn't have a safety net just in case things didn't go well, so I never actually got to give it a shot. I have a bit of a complicated background, and it's quite a mouthful, so I think this is the one video where I'm actually going to get into that, so don't expect this amount of detail going forward. Since I hit a dead end with my current career path in manufacturing, and both animation and games only continue to worsen over time and has not gotten better, I decided that it would be worthwhile for me to just try to strike it out on my own and do freelance. Especially I don't want to be at the mercy of other companies right now, especially with how competitive the job market is, just even outside of the fields that I work in. I saved up a ton of money during my time working in manufacturing, and I've also benefited very generously from my partner's grandma's donation. She gave me a bunch of money to help me with my business. This isn't something that anyone's ever done for me before, and so to have that happen, it really gave me the green light that I needed to go for it and just keep going. So since I now have the safety net that I lacked previously, and I've actually been able to continue working at my previous job and just reduce my hours significantly, it's really helped bolster that safety net and help me keep going. But I actually first started my business back in 2025. I still had that safety net, but I wanted to get things started while I was still working full-time. So the goal there was to start an online store where I could sell printed merchandise of my work. So typically artists will start with stickers, and that's what I ended up going with. And I bought a printer, and I decided to do manufacturing at home because that's what made sense to me, and it helped me feel a lot more in control of what I was doing. Even if startup costs were higher, it meant that later costs were lower, if that makes sense. So I spent the next month and a half working on designs, buying the printer, getting all kinds of printing supplies the paper materials, laminate and everything, registering my business with the government, opening a business bank account so that I could get paid, setting up my online shop, and I ended up going with Shopify. And this happened all during during like all of July and then into August, which if anyone's also like a small business owner or like sells their work online, etc., you'll know that the Trump admin removed de minimis on like the second last week of August. Like it was like August 26th or August 28th. So even though like I took about a month and a half to launch, I actually wanted a little bit of an extra week, but I had to just kind of go with what I had and launch with what I had because the de minimis was suspended, and I was like, okay, these packages need to go before de minimis is out, because that way like people aren't going to have to pay an arm and a leg for shipping now that like duties are going to have to be done. So I ended up launching my shop, I think like the 18th, 19th of August or something. Like we had a few days to get orders in, and then as long as like I got the orders in to like the shipping service that I was using by a certain date, then they were all going to cross the border just fine. So that's pretty much what ended up happening. And I was so like I was working so much that I barely even had time to advertise it. And most of my customers were of course my friends, which you'll see a lot. This does not diminish the fact that like friends and family will fuel your initial success of your launch. This is very important. Like it's still worthwhile. They're the people that are like helping you move forward, because right, like even if you have an audience, it doesn't necessarily mean that your audience wants to, you know, buy from your shop. They might just like your work and just not want to buy it. Like that's totally fine. So it does take time to build that audience, and you're probably not going to have it for your first launch. So I think I got about 6 orders and things went really well. And I'm really grateful for everyone that did help me with my launch and shared it or like bought something. It like meant the world to me, and it told me that like, again, like I could keep going, like this is worthwhile to continue. Though I did overwork myself like crazy because again, I was still working full time, and we have like rotating night shifts, which are like, they take a huge toll on my body that I barely recover from by the time that I get another night shift. And I think I had like 2 night shifts in between like that month and a half that I was working on the business. So like during all my free time, I was essentially like working on the business. I didn't do anything else but work on it, and I just got so thoroughly burnt out that I spent like the next 2 weeks like just like playing video games. And then I ended up putting my shop on hiatus for the rest of the year. That way I could just like focus on spending time with my partner, and then also like just grinding out the rest of the year, saving up money, and essentially like biding my time for like what I was going to do this year, as in like January 1st, 2026, like, you know, we're doing the freelance, like this is when we're starting. Anyway, yeah, so it's been 4 months since that time when I started freelance, since January, and I want to talk about my experience and kind of how that's been so far. We're going to go month by month, see how things went, what my plans are for the future a bit. And yeah, so what I'm going to do is, initially I was trying to record everything like kind of in this setup, but I kept having issues with like audio and like the video and like making sure the house was like quiet or whatever. So what I'm going to do is I recorded this section here, and then I'm going to do like an overhead shot because I kind of wanted like the video to be semi-interesting. I didn't just want to like stand here, especially because like I'm not showing my face and I know people like looking at faces. So now that I have a proper camera, this is my first time having a video with a camera, nice camera. We're going to do like an overhead shot of my tablet. And I'm gonna just like work on stuff, and I have a voiceover, and we're just gonna do that. And then later I'm gonna come back and we're gonna sit back down here, and then we're gonna talk about inclusion and kind of like my findings. And yeah, so yeah, let's get into January. So January was both a non-productive month to start with and also a very productive month by the end of it. During the 2 weeks of both the start of the year and the start of the month, I went to work. I unpacked after a trip with my partner, and I just like played a literal shit ton of Legends EA to get that all out of my system. But it wasn't until like midway through January that things really started rolling. Despite January being like my literal first month of freelance, I had actually already landed my first ever tabling event at Torontoroka. This is a yearly competitive Splatoon tournament held in Toronto, and for its first year, I was asked to table and sell my work alongside Pixel Hearts. While the opportunity didn't come out of nowhere, it was kind of entirely unexpected for me at the time. The organization that hosts Torontoroka is the same org that's been hosting Squid Social, and that's a monthly casual Splatoon LAN that's been running since like I think 2018. I was recommended Squid Social like all the way back during my first year of college, I think 6 years ago, and I knew of the events and was in the server since 2019, but I never attended as I was really nervous about traveling all the way downtown to play Splatoon with a bunch of people that I didn't know at the time. But I did finally attend my first social in October of 2025 with my partner, which gave me the confidence that I needed to go, and I'm really glad that I went, because I've since made like a ton of friends, and I now attend each one that they hold every month. I attended October's social and November's, where they actually announced Torontoroka, and despite only knowing the tournament organizers for a short period of time, I was invited to table, and it genuinely kickstarted my freelance push in a way that I couldn't have even dreamed of. Since I was invited to table, I was obviously going to need merch. I didn't make any Splatoon merch for my initial shop launch, so I had a lot of work to do. Since this was my first table also, I didn't really want to show up with only stickers, so I decided I would finally look into printing and selling prints for the first time. I should also mention that I signed up as a competitor since I was kind of getting back into competitive Splatoon. I used to do free agent tournaments back when I was in college and they used to run those. I don't think they do them anymore though. I spent the next 3 weeks planning and grinding out all the merch I wanted to bring. Half of it was prints and then half of it was stickers. And back when Splatoon was kind of decently new, the devs used to make little postcards of the characters and the idols in different regions sometimes. I remember there was one in Paris, so I wanted to kind of take that as inspiration for Torontoroka. It seems kind of grand for a tournament, but Torontoroka is actually kind of a big deal for us in Canada, at least to Squid Social, or at least to me, because this is the first time that a Canadian LAN has been officially involved in the LCS. That meant that the winning team from Torontoroka would actually go off to compete against all the winning teams around America with all the other LANs involved in the LCS. Up until now, it was only American LAN, so having our first LCS Canadian LAN, to me, is a huge deal, and I wanted to celebrate that by creating paintings of the idols around different parts of Toronto. So Callie and Marie are taking the 506 Spadina streetcar around Kensington, Pearl and Marina are at the steps of the CN Tower and Skydome, and deep cuts in front of the Toronto sign at the Nathan Phillips Square skating rink. These paintings took about 8 to 14 hours each, and I genuinely died making these. Regular viewers of the channel will probably remember me talking about how, ever since I've graduated college in 2022, I kind of stopped making illustrations, I stopped doing line art, I stopped painting, I stopped rendering anything or coloring anything. To make these 3 paintings in less than 2 weeks back to back was a lot. But that being said, I'm still incredibly proud of these. I was met with so much positive reception at the venue, and they continue to do really well at events wherever I go, and it just kind of really goes to show that I need to make more prints. I also made 4 sticker designs. 2 of them are kind of based on competitive Splatoon, and then the other 2 are more casual. I kind of regret the style that I went with for these, the lineless style, but I only had 1 day to make them, so we just kind of went with it. And since I was tabling, I also had to have a table display, which is a ton of work just by itself to figure out. Me and Pixel kind of worked together to get ourselves situated despite the distance. We both went with white grids to start, and then we just kind of shared them between us. I also needed a way to mount and display my merch too, so I got one of those acrylic business card stands instead of the nail polish ones on Amazon, and then I also got some small colored clips for my prints so that I could kind of clip them to the grids and keep them safe. I also got some cellophane bags that was for customers, and then to put the display prints on so that I wasn't raw dogging the clips on the prints themselves. And I also made signage for my table, and then I wanted to decorate it with a bunch of the Splatoon merch that I've been collecting over the years. So I have a bunch of plushies and little figures and stuff all over it. It was so much work. I was working on it for a week straight in the living room. I felt really overwhelmed when I was making it, but everything ended up going incredibly well, and I'm really happy. Though speaking purely business-wise, while I did do really well at the event sales-wise, due to the large investment costs and the booth setup and the material, the paper, etc., I barely broke even. I think I just broke even, and that's just constrained to the cost of the event itself. It doesn't cover things like my phone bill, but this is exactly why keeping my job was really helpful. Though I know not everybody gets that opportunity, my job is just really weird. With all that said though, January had a pretty rocky and unproductive start, but things really came together in the end with Torontoroka. And aside from the merch table, we actually won second in the silver bracket, and my brother came to the event to watch me play and to help me with my merch booth, and he actually ended up winning me GOML tickets from the raffle, so I'll be attending GOML this year as well.
Yay!
Come here!
We can't give you anything right now, but we're gonna cover your registration.
Yes, that is it! That's correct!
Well,
Gold
or
or
you can,
Yoshido.
sorry. If you don't want that, you can pick either the small fry or one of these plushies or a free poster. The plushie.
The plushie. Oh, okay, forget it.
Okay.
All right, forget it. The GOML registration is still on the table.
Oh, hold on.
What'd she say?
GOML registration.
You're taking GOML?
Halcyon wants it. That's why.
056. 0.
And then after Torontoroka, we got some Katsuya afterwards to celebrate. So just all in all, it was an amazing experience, and I'm super, super glad that I went. Thank you to everyone that supported me and Pixel at our booth and was there at Torontoroka. Whether you were just watching or competing, it was such a great time. February felt like a lot less productive in a way, mostly because I didn't have any events at the end of the month in the same way that I had in January. A lot of February was actually getting back into the swing of competitive Splatoon since I was preparing for GOML. I started doing pickups, and then I eventually made a team with my friends and friends of those friends who are now my friends. But that being said, business-wise, I focus on getting my online shop back up and running with all the leftover merch from Torontoroka. Since I used Shopify previously, I just went back to it and started a regular plan after using their pause and build plan for like the last 4 months. But Shopify is really expensive, even at their lowest tier. It was $50 plus tax. I relented and I went with it for the launch, but I decided that I would switch to Big Cartel after my next convention in March. Getting the launch set up was relatively quick since I already had my Shopify up and running before, so that was a big plus. Most of the work that I was doing was like redoing all my shipping profiles, buying packaging, and then the shipping supplies for the 2 sets of prints that I now offered, which cost a lot of money, by the way, as an initial investment cost. It cost more than I think the investment of starting a booth at Torontoroka. I also got a new scale since my previous one was like really small and I used it for small stickers. Plus I also had to take new product photos for the site and for advertising material and stuff. And then I had to do all like the DDP shipping stuff since I was now actually operating as a business like past the de minimis suspension. And that was a whole headache. I had to redo all of my shipping profiles and try to find a way to consolidate like actual accurate shipping rates with 2 profiles where one profile is not tariffed, which would be prints, and then one that is tariffed, which would be stickers. The current backend system for online shops and shipping profiles is just not made for this stuff in the slightest, and it still isn't. And there's really no easy way to go about it. The solution that I came up with wasn't ideal, but I went with it knowing that I would replace it as soon as I could. I've already since replaced the system, and I believe I have a much fairer solution to both customers and myself now. It's really hard to explain this though. Tariff rates are different depending on the product and the value and everything. It's just a massive pain in the ass. Outside of business stuff, I actually attended a Valentine's meetup with My Lolita Com for the first time. I hung out with some Torontoroka staff to celebrate the tournament, and I also participated in a handful of other Splatoon tournaments online with some pickups and friends. By the end of the month though, I had relaunched my shop and I got a video out that had been a work in progress for a while, so I was still productive. Months like these, where I don't have major income from my business, if any at all, makes me feel like I'm not doing anything or like I hadn't been productive, but I still went to work, obviously, so like I was getting income technically. Okay, so now we're getting into March, and by the end of February, I had done my first tabling event in January, and I had also relaunched my shop for the first time this year with shipping available to Canada and the USA. But March's big event was actually my first ever convention. So shortly after Torontoroka, me and Pixel decided to try doing Toronto Game Expo in March, since we liked boothing with each other. Toronto Game Expo is like a relatively new 2-day biannual expo held in Toronto. It has exhibitors and an artist alley, alongside common areas like a stage floor and an arcade. They're really not that picky with who signs up in artist alley though, as long as you're not an AI bro or anything, so there was no issues with booking on our end. And since this was going to be my first convention, I really wanted to beef up my catalog. Since it was a gaming expo, I wanted to make sure that I was catering my catalog to the audience that I thought would be there, but if you've watched my TGE video that I put out like a month-ish ago, then you'll know that what I thought would sell did not sell, and my best sellers were actually my My Little Pony stickers, Digital Circus stickers, and my Splatoon stickers and prints, though those aren't in like order or anything. I spent most of the month grinding out designs where I could, and then I also had to like gather like print materials and everything since I was beefing up my catalog and also attending a 2-day convention. I wanted to have like 8 to 10 pieces of each, but when you have more and more merch designs, that obviously starts climbing up, so I was gonna need a lot more like print paper and like sticker paper and stuff. This was actually the first time I got to use my cutting machine for the first time. I didn't get a chance to use it for Torontoroka because I was so busy, but I had gotten a Sizer Juliet for Christmas in 2025, and like that seems like a huge investment like near the start. I know a lot of people will like basically keep cutting their stickers themselves for a lot longer, but even during my launch, I specifically bought craft stickers, like curved craft stickers, to help me with cutting, but it was really painful and I got very scared of like genuinely injuring myself. And with the amount of stickers that I had to make just for Torontoroka and what I would have to do for Toronto Game Expo, I would spend like hours and hours and hours and hours like cutting all these stickers, so I knew it was a worthwhile investment to ask for a cutting machine, and also it was a Christmas gift, so I might as well use it, right? It took a lot of fiddling around with though, and the documentation wasn't really easy to follow. I actually kind of have a lot of gripes with the learning material provided by Sizer, and also like people online, so making like maybe an in-depth tutorial or introduction to the Juliet is something that I would like to do in the future. For my specific merch catalog though, I debuted a ton of new stuff. I decided to paint the rest of the main 6 that I had drawn in the previous year in like a winter wrap-up like snowy outfit, and those did really well, as I stated before. I also made a set of digital circus stickers using various costumes or outfits that each character wore throughout the series thus far. Those did really well. I mean, it was like post episode 8 hype. That's really why I made them, because I really loved the episode so much and I wanted to make some merch. I also adjusted my Torontoroka stickers too, since I noticed some color issues on the first batch, and the main thing that I made was like Legend ZA prints and stickers. So I made character prints for Team MZ and their Pokemon, as well as a sticker sheet and charms of them like kind of baking donuts, and also some chibi stickers of Team MZ just by themselves in like kind of the pose that they were doing in the print. But unfortunately, none of the Legend ZA stuff sold like at all, basically. Personally, I'm still figuring out how I like making merch in terms of like how I want my art to look. I will say I think I enjoyed the Team MZ individual stickers the best out of all of them. I do love how all my merch looks, I'm really proud of it, but I think those are consistently my favorite style-wise right now. In March, a friend of mine actually graciously gave me a VGen code so that I could start taking commissions there, since I really wanted to try the platform out for a long time. I've heard amazing things about it, and I've seen their booth at Anime North a few times, but I was never able to invest the time in trying to get a code. But since I've been painting so much recently, I actually finally had some examples that I could use for comms, so I spent a bit of time that month working out my pricing, services, and terms of use and stuff. Back when I was working in manufacturing full-time, I really wanted to open comms so that I could try to get some of these stuff sorted before I had committed to doing full-time, but I didn't have any recent examples of finished work, so things kind of never really went anywhere. And I also never posted anything either, so nobody would want to comm me because I had a very small audience, and etc, etc. My teammates actually ended up being my first clients, but I wasn't able to start on any of their commissions until after TGE, since by the time that I got VGen all situated, I was about 2-ish weeks away from the con, and it was crunch time. I'd come up with an entirely new booth setup, and I decided to get plastic panels because they looked a lot more professional, so I concocted a setup using both white wire panels and white plastic panels. I also used a folding table that a family friend had given us a while back, and I used that to kind of have a permanent setup of the booth that I could slowly add to over the course of the next 2 weeks. And so many things came down to the wire, like getting the magnets for putting the prints up on the panels, foldable boxes, table signage, and I also forgot to mention, but I wanted to debut a type of new merch this time around, so I wanted to make a set of acrylic charms using those donut designs, but things didn't really go that well with them. I didn't have enough time for the charms to be manufactured and sent to me by any of the menus in China, especially because they were still dealing with their backlog from the Lunar New Year, so I ended up going with a local charm manufacturing company in Toronto, but their print quality isn't the same as Vograce or Wukri or other menus that other artists use, so I couldn't charge the same amount for them, and they were really thick. The print was sandwiched between 2 equally thick pieces of acrylic, which made them half an inch thick in total. At Torontoroka, I just used my phone for a pay by phone, tap phone thing payment, but I wanted a dedicated Square reader because I didn't really like the idea of constantly giving people my phone, even if it was in my hands. So I ended up getting a used Square reader from somebody on Kijiji for $50. We just tested it on the spot and it worked great. And then anyway, as previously stated, the lead up to TGE was really hectic, but I was actually able to persevere, thankfully. I won't get too into it here because I had a whole video about it that I'm putting up on the screen right now, but I can summarize it here. So the actual con itself went really well. I know a lot of people have their gripes at Toronto Game Expo, but I am glad it was my first convention, all things considered. I met a ton of amazing artists, cosplayers, and people. I made new friends, I networked, and my art actually really resonated with people, so I was able to get a lot of sales, and that made me really happy. That was my first time having my work in front of a general audience. I'm not counting Torontoroka here because that was a Splatoon event where I specifically sold Splatoon merch, but I was able to experience that for the first time just to kind of see how my work did, and that went really well. Also, in my TGE video, I thought I made profit, but I think, like, going back, if I counted, like, the 150 plus that I spent on the charms and the clasps that I had to, like, procure myself, I was either, like, breaking even or a little under, which really sucked, but, like, sales-wise, I did do really, really well. And I'm also okay with that because so many of my costs were all investments that would last me many other cons and markets and events and stuff. And then this was actually also my first time debuting like real business cards, so they were really well received and I was really excited about it. I even put my Big Cartel link on them despite like not technically having the Big Cartel open, but I had pre-planned to move my shop there and I just wanted like one business card to just last me a while, so I did that. All in all, March was super hectic, but I did super well for myself, and since I had 4 comms to do in April, I was really looking forward to April too. April is our most recent month in this review, and things went really well. I had a ton of comms to do that my teammates proposed on VGen back in March, and I spent a solid portion of the month just working on those. I had 4 comms from my teammates, and I actually got a 5th one from someone who found me through my TGE video, so that was really cool. About a week after I finished TGE, I summarized my experience and thoughts in a really kind of shoddy video on my old camcorder. That video did decently well ever since my video hiatus, since my other recent videos haven't done very well at all in comparison to the other ones before my hiatus in 2025 and 2024. My 5th client was like actually my first quote real client that commissioned me solely through other means and found my VGen through my Linktree or something, because I don't think I made a public post about them or anything, and I'm still really honored about that. So I technically had 5 comms to do in April, and that was a lot of work. I actually had an amazing time with the comms and I'm really proud of them, but I did have to increase my prices as soon as I was done with them because I was not getting paid enough relative to how long they took and the quality of the work, but that's okay because a lot of comms are like feeling out your service, and since I haven't been painting much until recently, I just kind of had to feel it out as I went. Also, since I've been painting and drawing much more in general, I've been recording my process more frequently, but I wasn't really sure what to do with all the process and the footage. I didn't want it to clog my YouTube channel here, but I also didn't really want to make an entire other YouTube channel dedicated to it either, so I decided that I would make like a $2 like baby tier on my Ko-fi for access to a bunch of my speed paints. So I ended up uploading a bunch to start, but there's going to be a lot more going forward from my backlog and also any future speed paints obviously. Commission clients of course get access to their speed paints for free if they're cool with that, and I'll also shout out people on the tier as well at the end of my YouTube videos, and this will actually just be the first one. I currently have no plans to actively uphold some sort of Patreon tier-based reward system. It's just not really something that I'm interested in. So far the speed paint vault access is all I have and all I have planned to do in the future, so don't expect anything else for now. Also in April, I did a ton of work on my websites and my brand image and stuff, so I created an Etsy account for international orders outside of the USA and Canada. I don't really have the best things to say about Etsy overall, but I have gotten quite a few sales. It's really useful to see what people respond well to, and of course who I can reach outside of my usual means. Though Etsy placed a hold on my account for seemingly no reason despite me providing tracking on everything, and I also had to pay a hefty startup fee, plus listing fees, plus to take a cut of all my sales, and also I lose money on every order that's sent to the USA because Etsy doesn't account for duties. I also can't really use Etsy's shipping service for every country but the USA, so I either have to keep USA on my list of places that I'll ship to and eat the cost, which really sucks, or I remove USA on that list, but every single order that I've had except one has been from the USA, so I'm taking the exposure route more than getting paid, I guess. I still think it's worth it for now. I'm obviously not like negative money or anything. I am just kind of overpaying for the shipping in comparison to what they're paying, but I would like to figure out shipping to other countries. And then when I was writing this script, I actually checked my Etsy and it looked like the hold was lifted, but they never told me. This stuff is really confusing, but I have made a bit under $100 so far, which is not bad for what I have and something that I mostly leave alone. And it's also like been like a month-ish, I think, by the time that I'm writing this script. I'm definitely not losing money on the platform by any means. My profits are just going to be lower compared to like my Big Cartel due to the Etsy fees and whatnot, but I do pay $15 a month straight up for Big Cartel. So if I do like end of month calcs, depending on how many sales I get on Big Cartel, I could actually be making more on Etsy despite that amount. So I would have to do some calcs, and also I haven't actually gotten any sales on my Big Cartel because I've only advertised it on my newsletter and I have like maybe 9 people signed up, so I should probably make a social media post. I've just tried not being annoying. I don't like advertising myself all the time. A huge thing that I wanted to work on in April was getting a web domain and setting up my website, plus linking all of my like shops and like everything to a subdomain. So I wanted a primary domain to point to one website, but to have a subdomain for my shop, with my domain ending in like a .com or like a .net. Personally, I feel like this is the cleanest and the best option for me, because personally my like name and in quote brand is a lot more than just my shop. So I didn't want, like, for example, naoming.com to point to my big cartel. I wanted it to point to my website, but I also wanted my shop to be easy to understand as well. So for my big cartel, I ended up choosing a subdomain. I went with shop.naoming.com. Subdomains are really, really useful, and it's a big reason why I went with a .com rather than something like a .store or a .shop. It just means that I can just kind of put more things in my domain without having to pay for more domains. I ended up going with Card for a website for now because I'm really, really familiar with the site builder, and I just ended up like shelling out like the $20 for Pro so I could connect my DNS to my domain host. It's really useful to have Pro so I can have an endless amount of elements per website as well. And then of course Big Cartel, as I stated before, I set that up for my shop, so I have that under shop.naoming.com, and I also have my Etsy. I can't connect a subdomain or like a domain to that as far as I know, so I'm just like etsy.com/naoming or whatever. I'm also a little late talking about this considering that I've already talked about my sales platforms, but I was waiting quite a while after TGE finished before I could have like a sunny day to take product photos. I think it was like a solid like 10-ish days where it was nothing but overcast. I took a while to get those product photos because of that, because I didn't want I wanted it to be sunny. I wanted it to look nice. It was difficult though, even with the sun, because the office like is also a bit of a storage space, so trying to like clean things up to like make everything work took quite a bit of time. Something else I also worked on was trying to get my recurring costs down, especially because like again I'm planning on moving out. I don't actually remember if I like said this in the video or not, but yeah, I'm planning on moving out soon with my brother. So I wanted to bring some of my like monthly costs down with like my car insurance and my phone payment. So like I got my phone payment down from like 87 to like 27 a month, and then my car insurance went down like I think it was like 180 down from like 150 and then down to like 90-ish something. It took quite a bit of work. It was a bit of a pain in the butt, but super worth it. I really do recommend anyone do that, especially like this is usually the time when like my things renew, just because like I get a lot of things done in the spring. So I really do recommend it, especially with the economy right now. Really good. Like I think I'm saving like $200 a month now, and that's essentially like a month's worth of groceries, if not a bit more. So definitely worth it. I had to deal with some tax stuff technically because like some of my business was operational in 2025, but that was mostly just me documenting like losing $1 billion on investment costs with little return, because I only had like the one launch, and like so many of my costs were investment costs that like I still have. So yeah. I also signed up to a bunch of other like cons and markets as well, so we'll see if I get into any. Currently like crossing my fingers that the lottery gods will help me get into Otakuthon. That would be a really great event for me to get into, especially because like I missed my window for like all the bigger cons because I didn't start until like January. Truthfully, I should have done this earlier, but this is just the way that it goes working full time. I think the money that like I made working full time was worth it rather than like quitting or like reducing my hours earlier, especially because like I just needed that safety net like so much more. And you know what, there's always next year, right? So I have like something for May. I have like the interesting spaces place thing. I also think I have some stuff for June, and then I'm almost certain I got into Pretty Heroes in July. I know that's like a bit of a slower con, but it is still a good one, and I do really like the venue because I've been to that venue a few times before. And then just to kind of wrap up April, near the end of the month, I went to Barry Game Exchange, and that went okay. I made enough to cover table and my gas costs, but literally nothing else. And honestly, if I didn't have my Digital Circus stickers, I would not have made back table like at all. I was not expecting that to sell the best, but I guess it does make sense because a lot of parents like showed up with their kids, and I know Digital Circus is like pretty popular with kids, so I guess that makes sense, but still not what I was expecting at all. I was thinking that my Splatoon stuff would do decently well. Though I will say the like biggest positive of the event was actually snagging a complete copy of Klonoa 2 in really good condition for like $65. Disc was clean, manuals in there, like the actual case like was really well, it's not full of scratches or anything. And I am a bit of a game collector. I frequent like all kinds of used game stores. I've been going like literally since I could walk all the time, and I just never saw it like ever. So I didn't even know what the market value was. So when I saw it, I was like walking around like on eBay like checking to see like what the market value was, and it was actually a good deal because like I think the complete ones on eBay are going for like $90, and so I got that for $65, and I'm really happy with it. And then currently, as I'm recording, I'm in the first week of May, and things are already looking really good. I have 2 commissions to work on this month. I got a new client that must have found me from somewhere, and then one of my other clients wanted on the commission, so I already have 2 comms for this month so far, plus again that interesting spaces at the end of the month, and then this video, and then I also have like some posters that I'm working on. I will say like this is gonna be like another probably like big commission and like painting month, and then I think especially especially since like I'm almost certain I got into Pretty Heroes in July. I do want to spend like all of June like trying to bang out a bunch more merch designs that I've kind of had floating around in my head for a little while. There's a lot more that I want to do, and I want to again like continue like getting good at like my merch making process, right? And like make good art that I like and I'm proud of. Again, proud of all my merch, but I do still like, I like those like Team MZ stickers and stuff. And yeah, I also want to like make more charms, but they're really expensive and I don't really want to lose money again, so I don't know. Oh, and I spoke about this I think in the intro, but I got a camera. I visited Henry's with my friends, and one of my friends is into film, so I was talking to the staff and then my friend, and I got some recommendations. I ended up getting my friend's model, like the same one, so it's like a Canon Rebel EOS SL2. I got it used for $320. I took some Etsy videos with it earlier today, because Etsy kind of likes videos of people like moving the product around and stuff, and so far I've been really enjoying it. Anyway, that wraps up April, so we're gonna get into like things I learned and takeaways and get into the conclusion, and yeah. Alright, so I wanted to make a little summary section near the end that just kind of summarizes some of my learnings that maybe I like didn't get into detail about in the video, or maybe I just didn't talk about, but like I could summarize it near the end. Some of them might get a little silly, some of them might like be a little serious, you know. Tried being succinct in my points in the video overall, but we're just gonna kind of rapid fire through these. So there was a lot of times where it felt like I was losing money or working for nothing because my investment costs were so high, and to be fair, I absolutely could have kept these down if I was more stringent. Since I'm still working and getting a paycheck, and I also had the generous donation from my partner's grandma, I was able to kind of get what I was looking for, but of course like still like buying within my means. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm losing money, because those things are going to last me a very long time. As long as you're not like buying things and then just throwing them out, then you're not wasting money, and as long as they're actually useful, obviously. Also, I should have started my Etsy earlier when I opened up my shop back in February. That would have been a lot more ideal. So far I've gotten about $100 in sales, a little under since then, so it would have been definitely worth it for me to open it up in February instead of waiting. And when you add a new type of product, this is something I kind of wish I knew. I didn't really think it was going to be this expensive. Be prepared to shell out like $1 million in shipping and handling supplies for it. Like adding prints cost me a ton of money that selling prints in of itself has not paid off on its own, because I debuted 2 new like sizes of prints, and that requires 2 types of bubble mailers and then 2 types of cellophane bags, and that's a lot of money if you get them in bulk, which you should be, because then you're paying less in unit price, but now like your investment costs are like way higher. I've been rolling up to events with like specific merch catered to the assumed audience of the event, and then a bunch of random other people roll up and buy the thing that I didn't think would do well in like at all, like by any metric. So sometimes making things that you think only appeals to you will actually save your ass on days that otherwise you would have lost money. If I hadn't brought those digital circus stickers to Barrie Game Exchange, I never would have made Backtable. If I didn't bring like My Little Pony stickers to Toronto Game Expo, I would have lost like almost half my sales, right? And like you say it out loud and you're like, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, why are My Little Pony stickers your best sellers at Toronto Game Expo? Girl, I don't know, but I like My Little Pony, and so I brought them, and then other people who like Little Pony like just ended up showing up. Like, I don't, it's just the way it is. Like, it really just goes to show that like, make what you like, and like, it will just be there and people will respond to it, and you'd be surprised at how well things do, especially like nostalgia too, because like G4 ended a while ago, so yeah. Unless you want to lose money on every sale, don't ship your products to America unless like you want to benefit from the exposure like what I'm doing. You could up your products by like 50 cents. That's what I decided to do going forward. Make a note maybe to your customers to encourage them to your other store. I think it's like worthwhile for me because literally 99.999% of my Etsy sales have come from people in America, and I still am making money. I think I've, again, like Etsy said, my net profits were like 100, something like that, like a little under. So it's still very much worth it, and it gets more people to your work that wouldn't have otherwise found you. So I personally think it's worth it, but just do be prepared for that. If you do commissions, definitely advertise that on your booth. I've had people ask me about them. I think I've gotten like a client from it, or like a potential client, I don't quite know. Use that yummy VGen logo. They have it available on their website. Like, you can use it, they give you permission, and they'll give you the exact like hex code of the green as well. It's very recognizable, it's really good. It's just really useful for like kind of pointing people towards your commission services if you'd like to do commissions. My biggest advice, I guess, as well, is also like just talk to people at your booth, ask questions, network, like make connections. It sounds really annoying when I tell people about it because I was on the receiving end of it. Trust me, 3D is so network based because it's a very small industry, and so much of like the work that you get is network based, and they're just gonna like constantly shove that down your throat. Talk to people, network, right? It is really annoying. But here's the thing, if I can put it this way, just be a decent person, be sociable, like be approachable. Don't bother people if they don't want to be bothered. It does take, you know, a little bit of like introspection to know when the right time is, or like whatever. It's just something that you're going to feel out and get good at, but it's so worth it. You're going to make friends, you're going to make connections. These are like the backbone of any industry or any work that you get. People will recommend you to jobs. Like, it's absolutely incredible. Just be a good person and good things will happen to you, and it feels good, right? Like, it always feels good. Like, I literally got a LinkedIn connection from Toronto Game Expo. Like, shit's serious. And then I think I talked about this earlier. Conventions, markets, and events are really good ways of feeling out like the success of your work in a generally unbiased manner. Of course, like, there is no perfect vacuum in which there is no bias, because like table placements in conventions do matter. There will be pros and cons to your placement, but is going to have far less influence on the scope of your work than like an algorithm would, for example, on like Instagram. I still feel like it's significantly more accurate than posting my work online to see how well my work does. And you're also going to see like the way that people look at your work too, because when you're online, you obviously can't see what people are doing on the other end of the screen. But when someone's looking at your work, you're going to be able to see what they do, right? Like, they're going to like maybe say something, they're gonna be like, wow, that looks awesome, and like it's just kind of an instinct. Or like you might like see them like completely like, you know, like disengage with it, just like walk right by, right? And like you'll get an idea of like who responds well to what, and like that's really, really useful information. And this is a little bit self-serving because I'm on YouTube right now, but I low-key think like so many more artists should be on YouTube. I think it's just a great hub for so many artists, and I do get it because like I'm not the best like person for doing videos. Trust me, like even though I have history with like making little sketch off videos 10 years ago, well, over 10 years ago, I think it was like 15 years ago, my shoddy videos like still do well. You build connections. Again, it's the whole thing. Just be a good person, put good things out in the world. People like, you know, following people's stories and how they're doing. I think this is good things for this world. It's always good to be reminded about success that people are having throughout their life. I think that's especially important in today's age. And it's just a really good like hub for people to like find you, find your work, you know, see what you're about, and find your other things. I don't think Instagram and Blue Sky and like other platforms are quite as good for like being a hub like that as YouTube is. So I really do recommend people do it. You can use your phone, you can record on your phone, right? There's all kinds of ways to do it. Okay, so conclusion. There's a lot of things that I can say here. Unless you were able to juggle working full-time and make like large strides in your art business or like your reach or your following or whatever, then your first few months might look like mine. They might not look super profitable. They might be worse, they might be better, right? But for me, every single month, things got better and better. I know I could be doing better as well, like because I'm kind of constrained to my room and then like the storage office. There's not always that degree of separation between work and like rest that I personally really need. I am medicated and that does really help, but not having that divide does make it so that I do have a harder time getting things rolling when I do need to work. So in future and like kind of going forward, I'm trying to make that separation a bit better. When I move into a new place eventually at the end of the summer, that's definitely a huge goal for me, is to have a dedicated workspace. Like I would like to be able to work in the office, not just in my bedroom, right? It is hard, like if you live with your parents or whatever, I do get it. But even still, like with the amount that I have done, like it's incredible progress. Like it, okay, sorry, my mic died, but I have another one. So let's continue. Anyway, as I was saying, it's just been like really great progress for the 4 months that I do have, so it is very much worth it. I also do kind of wish that I got another video out during these few months. I do want to get at least one video out a month, and I do love the community that I built here a lot, but I think I'm not that mad that I obviously didn't get that video out. I was doing other stuff. It's not like I was like doing stupid things. So yeah. Something else about YouTube as well, like again, I touched on this a little bit earlier. I just find YouTube to be a lot kinder to newer creators, especially compared to like Instagram and Twitter and things. So I guess like it's just a great place for newer creators. Instagram will actually push your video out. Like they do make an effort to get newer creators seen and like put on the platform. So it is really nice. So I guess like if I were to like fully close off this video, I would say things have been going good. Things are currently going good. Things are going to look good and are looking good. And I'm just going to keep going and keep trying my best. I'm so grateful for the support and the encouragement that I've been given from everyone, whether that's on VJan for commissioning me, if you show up to events and like we talk, or even just say I love your work, right? If you've like supported me on Etsy or on my Big Cartel or here on YouTube, literally without that I wouldn't be able to keep going. That is the data in my mind that I look at and I'm like, you can keep going. I am beyond grateful for everyone who has given me support no matter what. And I've actually never really like re-summarized information about myself in the end of my videos. Typically I'll just like say like, thanks for watching, okay, thanks, bye. But for the end of this one, I do want to kind of like, again, like summarize who I am, what I do. So if you've liked this video, thanks. If you want to check out my shop, you can find my merch at shop.naoming.com. If you're in the US or Canada, if you're international, I definitely recommend my Etsy. It has the same products. You might just be paying 50 Canadian cents, a little bit more. Our dollar sucks. That's probably not a whole lot for you. It's just so I can like, cover those costs of the Etsy fees, and if, Americans buy my stuff, which they do like to do on Etsy. My VGen is also on the same username. Oh, sorry, my Etsy username is the same, Naoming, NYAOMING. You can find me on Blue Sky. I like that platform a lot. I connected that to my domain, so it would be like Blue Sky profile naoming.com or whatever. I do use Instagram. I use that for more like finished work, and then I also use my YouTube channel. I also mentioned probably a few other videos that I've made in the past. I think I have like a little bit of a handful now, so again, if this is the first time you're seeing my stuff, I have a bunch of other things. I usually talk about like art mentality, but since I've been doing freelance, I've obviously been like making videos like that, and I do want to make like tutorials or like things like that about like my process, because that's interesting to me and I do like sharing that information. And I do have like other art mentality videos that I have been working on, just I haven't really had the time to make them because I've been working on this stuff, so yeah. And as I said earlier, if you are subscribed to my Ko-fi tier, the $2 like speed paint vault tier, whatever, you get a shout out at the end of the video. So thank you to my single Ko-fi subscriber, my partner, beautiful partner. Thank you very much. And of course, everyone who's ever commented on, liked, or shared my work or videos, I love you. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.